introduce our lunchtime speaker, Roger Cohen. He is with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation Policy Director. I got a chance to meet with Roger and his staff a few months ago because DOT's doing a lot of interesting things. They are one of the state organizations that we're working with in a number of areas. So it's important for you all to hear from a state perspective or from the transportation, PA Department of Transportation. You already heard earlier about the turnpike. Any of those who went to some of the funding things, you'll hear some of the things other departments in there. But the state is really committed to working on alternative fuels, and we're very fortunate in our state to have some funding for alternative fuels, vehicles, and infrastructure. That's not the case in a lot of states. So with that being said, let me introduce Roger Cohen.
Good morning, everyone. Almost good afternoon. There's a lot going on in Pennsylvania, a lot going on in Pittsburgh. So how hungry are you? Because we could take a good amount of time, but how much time?
You can have 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. Well, I better talk fast then. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you and Rick and Clean Cities, Pittsburgh region. It's really a treasure of an organization, and this gentleman here is a treasure of a public servant who definitely warrants the honors that he's recently been given. When I first arrived at PennDOT about 15 months ago, last summer of 2015, as policy director to Secretary Leslie Richards, who asked me to come on. And within a couple of weeks, the phone calls started coming in from this guy out in Pittsburgh who wants to meet about what's going on in alternative fuels and air quality and whatnot. And before I knew what was happening, I hear this booming voice coming down the hall, and this guy comes in and looks like he's off of the steel curtain, rushing Bernie Kosar into oblivion, and we sat down and we hit it off immediately. And I think there's a lot of work that all of us are going to be doing together in the years to come, and that's an exciting thing. What a great time, to be in Pittsburgh. What an exciting place to be, because here's where the future is really coming together. It's really being born, if you will, in a lot of areas. Yesterday, the President of the United States came here and really acknowledged that reality, that this is one of the epicenters of innovation, and how appropriate is that. This is one of the cradles of American industry, and indeed, all of the Commonwealth. Pennsylvania is going back to our first citizen, Ben Franklin, is really the paragon, if you will, of innovation and bringing together different disparate forces to make new things happen. And that's what's going on today here. Not only the President, but the Secretary of Transportation, Department of Transportation, Anthony Fox, came here, and he had a very important announcement, and I want to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to go cover a couple of different topics before you get to eat lunch. And one additional thing, as I saw in the Bonfire newspaper, I don't know how many of you actually read the Bonfire. It talks about public finance, and Mayor Peduto says that the city of Pittsburgh is going to come out from under state fiscal oversight after many years, and that's not a small thing. That's a measure of the success that the city, Allegheny County, Southwest Pennsylvania is experiencing, and the new prosperity that is growing, and the opportunities that are arising. This facility and this programming is a measure of that, and it's important that these opportunities are diffused and spread so that people who in past years, in past generations, haven't prospered are able to take part in the future as it develops and unfolds. So there's a lot of collaboration that's going on, and let's just talk about the smart spines from Smart Pittsburgh that Secretary Fox came yesterday to announce. PennDOT, with the city of Pittsburgh took the lead, was instrumental in applying for the Smart Cities grant competition that was won by Columbus. I don't know why it was won by Columbus. I mean, I guess that Mr. Fox felt that the Blue Jackets don't have a chance, the Pens are in good shape, and so, he wanted to compensate. But anyway, he came back with about a commitment of not the full vote of $50 million that's going to Ohio, but a large share, I think it's about $10 million when it's all toted up. PennDOT's going to be putting in a major portion of that, another $7 million, and then when you add up institutional and private sector revenues and financings that are leveraged from that, you're going to have a very substantial fund to develop what's called the Smart Spines strategy, that is to find corridors, the major corridors along from the Golden Triangle outward into metropolitan Pittsburgh, and lay the infrastructure for 21st century communications, the most important of which from a transportation standpoint is the DSRC, the Dedicated Short-Range Communication, by which autonomous vehicles will be able to communicate with the infrastructure. And when that is completed, Pittsburgh will have the most extensive DSRC infrastructure network in North America. I understand that some of my colleagues from the Turnpike were here earlier, and the Turnpike is wiring up their main stem highway, as well as a couple of the spurs in the future, and the Turnpike is going to be able to connect into what Pittsburgh is doing, so that vehicles will be connected to infrastructure. In Philadelphia, PennDOT announced just 2 weeks ago that we are going to develop on the Schuylkill Expressway, I-76, which runs from Montgomery County into downtown, and by anybody's measure is one of the most congested arterials in the country. It makes the Parkway look like an open faucet, frankly, because it's just murder, and it's hard. It's got a hard geometry, and it's got very limited capacity in terms of physical space, because there's a river and a cliff on the other side, so it can't be expanded. So what we're going to be doing there is building out the shoulders and have peak period hard running on the shoulders, so essentially creating the shoulders for peak period flows, but also, and this is the important part, we're going to expand PennDOT is going to expand the corridor management so that the major arterials that parallel the I-76 into Philadelphia are going to be managed actively for congestion. And this is the first time. It's a novel thing because typically PennDOT, those of you who are involved in municipal signalization know this. PennDOT says we don't do signals. It's up to you guys. well, PennDOT under Secretary Richards is changing its tune. It's getting involved. It's going to manage congestion in an integrated fashion. So we think that what we're putting together between what's happening in Pittsburgh, what's happening on the Turnpike, what's happening in Philadelphia, represents new strategies, new investments, and new collaborations. And again, one of the parts about the Smart Pittsburgh program that's so exciting and intriguing is that Mayor Peduto made a point of this, that it has to be focused on providing opportunity to communities in the city that in past years public investment may have overlooked, so that without opportunity being shared, our investment is not getting the value that we should, as taxpayers, expect out of it. So that's going on. Two ends of the state, the major thoroughfare between the two ends of the state. There's a lot happening elsewhere. The federal government is becoming much more actively engaged under Secretary Fox, and Congress too. You know, for all people want to say about Congress, Representative Schuster in the House shepherded one of the most significant pieces of legislation that this Congress enacted, and that's the FAST Act. We worked closely with him. He did it in a very bipartisan and a multimodal approach, and it's a progressive piece of legislation in many respects. It does not achieve the increased funding that it envisions will be necessary in order to realize its aspirations. That, as is often the case, remains for the next round, and we still have a good deal of work